created to have some fun together, sharing and singing. So, join and enjoy.
Our love for opera brings us together. Thanks for being with us in this trip.
Sorry for interrupting. I didn't know if you would go for the whole passage. So why don't I just shut up and let you start from the beginning? So let's get back to it, please. And so that's how an E flat sounds. And since guys, I shared with you last episode of this spectacular singing. I shared with you that we had shared with all of you the one of the most incredible scenes on stage for opera. Believe it or not, for a soprano, but it is from Ardon Vincenzi, very well manufactured piece of music, and we are going to listen to the part that is the one of the most horrible pieces of music ever written. The Spargi d'Amaro Pianto. So before I spoil everything with my comments, why don't we take it from the beginning? Um, because talking about it is always fun. So let's talk fun about this. The one and only reason why people like this Pargi d'Amaro Pianto, the end of the mad scene of Lucia, is a high note that you just heard from Katia, that E flat. E flat 6, by the way, is very close to the Fs of the Queen of the Night, only placed differently and stuff. So if a soprano can sing the Queen of the Night, she should be able to sing Lucia. So, but the interesting part here is that we have seen this final note very few times nicely sung, but hundreds or thousands of them horribly. I would like you to, if you want to replay the part, just before I interrupted Kathy, of course, if you want to replay the part when she's working on the ornamentation just before the E6, that's how you go for an E6. Well, basically, that's how you are supposed to sing any high note or any note in opera.
And I did it twice, by the way.
But the thing here is that people is so used to listening to very bad versions of the high notes that we were just making fun just as we were starting the recording, that the trampoline note that we have talked about many times, because there is the ornament, then as you reach the note, you are expected to give the note, not to add an intermediate note and then sing the E6 flat. That's horrible. And the problem is that there are so many people who are used to listening to that note. Another thing, and I think you must be familiar with it also, is not only the trampoline note, that small note that nobody asked for, but that all sopranos like to sing. The other is that when you are asked to give a note, whatever note you sing, da, 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 you like da, that it's a note. But there is many people that do not sing. The trampoline note is separate from the high note. Ah, you see, that is the trampoline. But there are many that do not reach the exact note. But for a fraction, without interruption, that is a trampoline, for a fraction, what they do is that they sing a very different note, and a fraction later they go for the note. Instead of they like you catch the pitch, a fraction of a second after you were supposed to have hit the A6 flat. None of the two is acceptable in good singing. No, they shouldn't be acceptable. But people are so used to listening to that, and now uh, I think that a good way to start this is by people hating me again because of saying things about Maria. Maria Callas had a fair version of the Ardon Vincenzi, but a pretty bad version of Spargi da Maropianto. Because she did the two things. Either she went for the trampoline note or for this note that is not the E6 flat and immediately then go for the E6 flat. But maybe Katia can explain why sopranos do go
No,
for a
I
different.
can't because because I try to do what is written or the best choice, not that kind of weird stuff. For me, it's more complicated to do something that actually doesn't help. I think that if you are already in this rush of a series of I don't know a hundred of notes per second, why do you stop like that and uh, there's no need. Really, there's no need.
It's
You're following. Or you should.
you should, yeah, because
You should be.
it's using the example that you sometimes play with the car. It's like, you're driving a highway and there's a huge car to your right. So you say, I'm going to pass it. But instead of being constantly accelerating or constantly in speed in order to pass him, it's like if you try to pass him by stopping the car. So when say well, what is that supposed to be? Even if it is continuous, even if the two notes are legati, they are still that is something unwritten. And somebody please explain me how does that help you to give a note in pitch? No way,
It's
but
not
well.
even psychologically correct. It doesn't help in no way.
But well, that was the end. But let's go back now to the beginning. Was saying that fortunately, thanks God, Donizetti wrote the Spargi Amaro Pianto very short, as opposed to the other 8 minutes of the Ardon Vincenzi, the rest of the scene. This final part, after a very difficult to understand intervention of other characters in the studio, because the Spargi da Mario Pianto is not really immediately after wrapping up the previous part of singing. So there is this intervention. Oh, what's happening with Lucia? No, no, Lucia, whatever. And then and
Who
then
cares?
then starts the music, and that's where the Spargi d'Amaro pianto has, which is good for the soprano because at least she can take a small rest, at least, and then she
Yes.
has to go for this part. Uh, Provided that I am not a soprano, on a scale of one, when one is the easiest and 10 is the most difficult, where could you place the Spargi d'Amaro pianto?
Mm, 6 or 7. Because here the temptation is to fall in the excess of ornaments. You have to be careful with that.
But well, you can do the excess when you at least can do what is written. But if we are serious about it, there are many sopranos who can hardly do what is written. So of course, I am clear that Nathalie Dessé would have no problem in singing Spargita Malo Pianto and other coloratura sopranos. This is what is the tempo for this, by the way? Moderato. This is moderato. So I mean, remember that these ladies singing presto prestissimo and anything that is sped up. So singing in moderato is like,
We're vocalizing.
yeah, you're just vocalizing and on a bad day. So it really doesn't work. And
I'm coughing.
a- apart from the E flat, I think the highest note is a C. Mm, where did I see it? Well, we will get there, but yeah, I think I saw that the C is the highest note except for the final note. So really, it's not like you're working on the stratosphere like Olympia, like Mozart with Blondie or Constanze. It's not even close to the to the high to the highest notes a soprano can sing. I think I would say that except for the E flat that not all sopranos have, the rest of the area in terms of height of the notes in terms of the extension is pretty much doable. So one would ask himself, oh, okay, if it is not so fast, if the complication is not so high, if there are not so many high notes, then why do many sopranos fail? You know?
What's wrong with you?
I mean, if you say, okay, I am failing with the first aria of the Queen of the Night, you say, okay, I get it. I
Okay, okay.
okay, demanding.
I've been there.
Not ready for Constance. Okay, get it. You will get there. But to say that you're failing, that you're unable to do the ornaments, that you are unable to do because the ornaments were going to get the achacaturas and all of that and the thrills, which by the way are also very horrible here. Even if the soprano can do them nicely, it doesn't sound like any other composition where you feel comfortable listening to the thrills. Then one is, I think it's a very fair question, and considering that it has to be well sung, why are there so many horrible versions that people consider are good when you actually listen to them you say no, my god, this is not, this is not bel canto in terms of technique, this is not the voice for a bel canto, and moreover this girl should be singing Violetta and not Lucia. Or please,
Go for Caro Mio Ben.
please adhere to Bohem, please continue being Mimi because Lucia is really not funny. And so, with all that in mind, let's go for reviewing. Start reviewing the the music itself. And so, one thing that also confuses me a little is that after having sung the scene that we just mentioned, and after having had people on stage singing, "Oh, poor Lucia, Lucia, what happens to you?" Whatever, she continues singing Barsegin Spargi de Maro Pianto, is some sort. Um, by the way, I'm looking at the translation. The translation is completely wrong. Cast on my grave a flower. Put
No,
a flower on my tomb.
please.
That is not
No.
Spargida Marupianto. We go back to the recommendation. Never trust the translations in opera because they use they are supposed to be done by experts, but clearly Spargida Maropianto does not mean that. Spargida Maropianto would be like, what would be the word in Spanish?
Spreading some kind of bitter tears.
Yeah, sort of spread or let your bitter tears flow, something like that. Uh, what does that have to do with cast a grave or a flower on my grave? It has nothing to do. So never mind
No,
about the
no,
translation.
no.
So what Lucia says is yes, like let these bitter tears flow. Il mio terrestre velo. I I have seen this done like in slow motion, like in a car. Il mio terrestre velo. You know?
Oh no.
Velo. Mentre la su. You see what I'm saying? This sort of lack of capacity of giving life. I mean, I go back to it. It's horribly written, yes, but even if it is horribly written, don't make it even more horrible. Try to do something.
No need.
Try to save it. So, but this would bring us to the question we had past episodes. What should be the sounds or what should be the mood in the voice of the soprano for singing Spargi d'Amaro Pianto? Because I know that the soprano is so concerned that people is maybe they ignored half of their previous part. They most likely people did not pay attention to that part because people are waiting for this part. And the soprano has that in her mind, and so she says, I have, but I think that because of that concern that all the attention is in here, is that they usually forget the psychology of the character. And so you have these versions like Spargi de Maropianto, as if Lucia was tremendously happy, or if she's in a capsule of time and she's singing in slow motion, Il mio terrestre velo. Velo. And you know what I'm saying. We have many examples of sopranos that do it like that. So, from your perspective, how do you think Lucia should sound like, emotionally speaking, in this part?
We were saying the last episode that she's not connected with reality, and I think that she's not connected with her emotions also. So, probably even when she's talking about tears, the music gives us an idea that she's not in touch with what she's actually feeling, and she doesn't canalize it correctly. So, in that sense, for me, it could sound playful, but it doesn't have to sound like she's happy. You know, she's losing her mind. Sparghi, sparghi, d'amaro pianto, il mio terrestre velo. You know, the music has this movement, but it doesn't have to sound like Lacme or Voces de Primavera.
And by the way, now just because you sang it, I wanted to mention that this little voice here that I'm putting here on the screen, basically on the second syllable, Spargi, this is also where many sopranos do what tenors do, which is if I cannot sing that note, I basically skip it. If I cannot sing and it doesn't exist, that's basically what a soprano would do. Because they usually skip this little baby just before the Spargy and go directly to Spargy. And so, guys, if you noticed to Katia, you have discovered that there is actually a note there before the G. So, uh, but also that has to do with the fact that the sopranos who do these kind of ornaments are used to noticing all these um, complexities, let's say, in the score, while lyrical sopranos do the opposite. They tend to ignore this notation of the music. What is here? A chocatura here? No, forget it. What is here? This no, also. What is this? A gruppetti? Ah, no, I'm going to skip the gruppetti. Skip one.
What about?
So, but it is interesting because when you hear it as it is written, but because it, even so, we have or Katia confirmed that it is not the most difficult area that has been composed is not one of the most difficult ones. Even if you watch other channels on YouTube or anywhere and they say, "Oh no, Lucia is super super difficult, the almost impossible aria to sing," it's not impossible if you start to start with, because maybe Maestro Donizetti was a little bored and he added many of those. Um, I want to say, of course, in the written music, you know what they mean, but I wanted to make reference to is the state of feeling or the state of emotion or the state of mind of Lucia when you don't attack, when you don't go directly to a note. It usually means hesitation, uncertainty, or maybe, as Katia was suggesting, maybe not even in touch with reality. Because people who are in contact with reality, they know il mio terrestre velo, and in the descending sense of the music. But just before she totally descends, you also have this little boy here, this sort of hesitation of not contact with reality. And personally, I don't think it's because Maestro Donizetti was bored. I think that he added his here. Well, of course, everybody will say, "How Ricardo got you there?" Say that he was bored. What I mean is that it was very very on purpose, but very very on purpose. Many singers choose not to sing it, or even can't, which is
Probably that's the point.
so I am going to sing Spargi da Mano Pianto, but I will forget all the chacaturas. I will not do all the trills, and I will not do this and this and this. You see, I will do my own version, putting away all the things that put me in trouble. Basically, it's what happens here. So as we move on, mentre look that again he's doing it very often. Mentre it is not mentre and if the soprano is at least committed to the music, at least to say it, I could say that the syllable that is higher in the higher note in this group is what gives you sort of idea that as we were saying, this little boy, this little note that is sung just before the following one is like trying to call your attention to the state of mind of Lucia, and that's where what gives you the hint that she really doesn't know what is happening, because the rest il mio terrestre velo mentre so pargi, it's like this is probably what Maestro Donizetti thought that's what madness looks like,
Mhm.
the incapacity to continue on a line of thought or in a line of emotions, because nothing has happened here. Of course, if you're singing Suicidio from La Gioconda, you know Suicidio, that's how it starts, but that's the only one where you go and you mark that you're talking about suicide. Of course, we are not talking about here any deaths of anything, but really on stage, nothing has happened that could provoke the change in the height of the notes for just a second, and adding this little boy before just to mark that it is not Sparti la Asu. You see, it's like when you're talking, and maybe you have seen it on the movies, and they try to picture someone who is crazy, usually acts like that. In those sort of syllables and change of height, which is usually a change of mood, like, ¿tú qué crees? Ah, está bien. Like, sort of your mind on. Because a person who is having a conversation with you wouldn't use that sort of intonation or of chopping words. So, está bien. But here is, está bien. ¿Y tú qué piensas? Ah, sí. Sort of passing the message that something is not working on their minds. At least that's my perspective. Would you agree to that, Katia, or would you like to add
Yes,
anything?
yes, because when the brain is not working normally, it's able to do something different, like the accents of the words. That's true, because they are not in control.
And for that reason, going back to the mood that the soprano has to portray on stage, I also think, but now from the body language, many sopranos like, of course, to stay in front of everybody and be like, Sutherland liked to do it a lot, like she was sort of frozen,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it was a very good idea because her body was somewhere stuck between reality and what she thought was happening in her mind, uh, and people would pay all the attention to the sounds. And that's when you would say, "Poor woman, she really has lost it. She doesn't really know what she's doing here now." And how does it evolve? Io pregherò per te. Al giunger tu. Maybe you would like to explain, Katya, for people who are listening to us. I'm not sure if your score says it, but mine does. When go after the pregherò per te, just there, maestro, besides putting the calderón, which I again forgot how do we say it in English, but well, the calderón, which I always forget, and the fermata. Right after that, he says, rallentando e portando la voce. If you were to teach that, if you had a soprano being trained by you, how would you suggest her to interpret for performing, of course? How would she? What would she need to do, vocally speaking, to pass that rallentando y portando la voce?
I think that we have to understand that Lucia's mind is working like a pinball, and comes and goes to different stages in her mind, in her head. So she's saying that in the blue of the sky, she will pray for Edgardo, and then she changes a little bit of her in her muta. Io pregherò per te al giunger tu. In this portamento, you have to express a little change of mood. It's not just passing from a B flat to a C flat. It's not just the transition in the pitch, but in the intention.
And also, when one reads to it, uh, per te al giungere tuo soltanto. Maestro Donizetti, the same way he's adding these small keys, the achacaturas before the main note, he also uses this same sequence of notes, tuo soltanto. We will see it ahead, that with other words, he's repeating the same sequence of notes from my perspective, like saying, like Lucia is caught in some sort of a circle, uh, a circle which she's caught and she can never get out. From my
She's
perspective,
like a hamster just running into the wheel.
yeah, because so far we have seen spargi e me entre e, and now she's going to do this tuvo tuvo, which also is not natural for someone who is just passing a message. You could say, but that those are the typical ornaments of the bel canto style. Of course, you can say that, but this adds to reinforce the
That she's mad.
that she's not, that she's. Let's go back that.
She's crazy.
Remember that last episode we said. Remember that she's still on her night gown covered in blood, and sometimes stage directors paint their hands in red also, which is
I
very
really
horrible.
want to do that.
You want to do that with what? Killing
Yes.
the husband, or being covered in blood? Uh, Lo soltanto fiabello il ciel, which I was saying, the same ornament, the same sequence. Look at this. Tuo sol ciel per me. He's using, and that's why I think that many sopranos sing it very uh, in a very predictable way. Tan 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 taran tan 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 taran tan tan taran 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 tararara. And you see, it becomes very monotonous when you just do it like
Yeah, it sounds like a concone lesson.
that. For people who don't know, the Concon method is a very, very popular book for singers to train, which most singers end up detesting a lot. Well, maybe you like it, but many singers are not very fond of having studied with it. It's like, no, teacher, please, not the Concon anymore. No, not those ones.
But probably if you study the concone, you can sing this correctly.
And that would lead us to a very interesting topic, because you and I have talked about it many, many, many times. And I recall it that for some reason that I cannot understand, when people say, okay, you're a baritone, yes, you're not going to be singing anything bel canto. No. So I will study only exercises that reinforce my lyrical singing, or if I'm a dramatic, only heavier exercises that put me in condition of blah blah blah. Same for the soprano, same for the mezzos. But if you recall, Katia, we have many times said that these are basics. If you're unable to work on a trill fairly, if you're unable to work on the diminuendos and your crescendos and your portamenti, and of course to the capabilities of your voice, but still being able to do that, unless you do that, you will always be doing something horrible in your own repertoire, because you're not going to think of Micaela is clearly for a lyrical, a little heavy soprano. Yeah, think of Micaela, not of Carmen. Think of Micaela. Je dis que rien ne m'épouvante. If you have not had a good training with the use of your diaphragm, and a good attack on your consonants, and a good management of your tempo, there is no way you're going to get away with Micaela. Maybe you think you need no ornaments to sing Micaela, and that is true. You need no ornaments, but you need the basis. Because only these exercises are going to give the singer the capacity, the tranquility, the peace of mind that he's going to go for this before derailing in the first couple of notes.
It is a delicate issue to talk about, because seriously, if you don't have pitch, if you don't have high notes, if you don't have line, if you don't have a good breathing, if you have to be changing the music because you're not able to do things well, what are you doing? Really? Really?
You are basically singing or saying that you sing what basically you can sing, but you never let yourself. I mean, if you're so worried that you say, oh my god, and there are many achacaturas and there are thrills and there are those, believe me that the problem is not Donizetti. The problem is you. You should be doing something else. Where you say, okay, since I cannot do any of those, I will be a soprano that goes for Micaela. And when you go for the beginning, je dis qu'il y a no me pouvante, and doing the ornaments, je dis que da 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 da. If you cannot do that, if you cannot be Lucia and you cannot be Michaela, probably you shouldn't be anything else, because that means that,
For violin.
that you have serious limitations, and it doesn't have to do with Donizetti or bel canto. But that is the reason why, and I know that you and while you were at the university and maybe more often, I'm not sure about your students because I know that if any of your students ask you that question, you will basically throw them a shoe. But maybe one of them has dared to ask, but why am I doing all this vocalizing when my voice is not for ornamentation? I mean, you know
No,
that.
they've never been that insolent.
So glad to hear that your students are well behaved, but I am pretty sure that many of the other singers you have met at university or your professional life, they have said things like that. I am a Wagnerian baritone. Why should I care about whatever?
I've always said that the most tools and skills you might have, the best for you.
And even if keeping the example of the Wagnerian baritone, even if you are not going to be on stage singing probably Il Barbero di Siviglia, and you say, if I am not singing Il Barbero, why should I care? Because even if your voice may seem too heavy to sing it on a stage, he would give you agilities that could be of great help and diction. The capacity of singing 30 words per second is something you will never do with Wagner, but that trained you because you know the articulation of sounds demands, of course we're talking about pitch and notes, but also the articulation of sounds when it is so fast, it also trains your whole organ to and also ascending and descending, and of course that puts lot of stress on your system, because if you hit the notes, you forget the words, or maybe you forget the words and the notes also, but it pushes you before beyond your boundaries. But if you say, no, I'm a Wagnerian, I will never do that, I just care about my German pronunciation and this, you're leaving out a complete area of your voice unexplored, and that you will need it eventually.
Yeah,
Believe
that's
me,
right.
eventually you will need it. But let's go back to Lucia. So el cel per me. I have always had, and I am pointing them on the screen. I have always had. We start a little earlier. I have always had trouble with the sounds of these horrible trills because because since look at the height of where the trills are. The trills are not starting even at the central C of a soprano, are a little lower. And the trills that the sopranos usually do here are very guttural. You can hear them resounding in their throats. Instead of sounding beautiful and floating, you hear them like, "I'll say," something like that. And you know what I mean. You know, Katya, you know what I mean. I know this is not a comfortable area for vibration. I know. But you girls need to do something so that I will not feel that your throat is basically moving like that. What do you suggest to go for these thrills here?
Well, yes, it's not the most comfortable area of the voice, but if you are comfortable with your air and with the agilities, if you have, for example, in my case, I have worked and practiced my trills even in the lowest part of my voice. Ah, and probably it doesn't sound very nice, like 2 octaves higher, but it helps me to face something like this. So it's not super brighter because the pitch it's not that high, but it sounds acceptable.
It sounds projected outside of your throat, which is fair
Yeah, it's
enough.
not like I'm drowning with my own voice on my tongue.
How do you do your trills? Oh, I suffocate with my own tongue. See, uh, I just recalled a video of a fellow singer whose name I'm not going to give. I just saw it by accident. Mexican tenor explaining about the tongue and all of that, and thinking that you're suffocating your voice with the tongue recalled me of his video. He was supposed to be explaining the opposite, but the sound was in fact
And that was the example of what not to do.
the opposite of what he was trying, the opposite of what he was supposed to be explaining. But well, um,
Mm.
yeah. So this because they appear in form of verb si, per me. So it happens 4 times. Then fiabel, wilchel, ilchel, per me, and then goes, Maestro Donizetti insists, si, per. That's
Wow.
it. And that's what makes it unbearable when the lady is not projecting. And I also know they are low, it's impossible they sound bright, impossible, even because we have explained that the higher the note, the higher the vibration. So of course, doing those ornaments with the tip of the sound is easier when you do it higher. The more you descend, of course, since there are fewer vibrations per second, it's more difficult to separate. And remember that the trills are usually adjacent notes or semitones. So of
Indeed.
course, go ahead, go ahead.
Sorry, when you do the exposition of this, it sounds completely different.
We're going to get there. Don't worry. We're going to get
Yeah.
because and in that from that perspective, I also understand the soprano says, "Oh man, this man put me to do my trills in an area where I am not comfortable, when I seem to be suffocating with my own tongue." Of course, I wouldn't, and that's why singers. And don't mention anybody that I said Beverly Hills like them who transpolate because she said I'm not comfortable in that area, so I'm going to transpolate, and people are going to just give me an applause because they are going to say, "Wow, she sang it higher! Wow, she's so good that she sang it so high." No, is that she knows that she's unable to sing in that area of her voice, that instead of exposing herself, she went for the easy way out. And the easy way out is to sing higher. Always, when you know, Katya, you know it better than me. If you're in trouble, the way to resolve is sing higher.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
If people say, he or she sounds a little sick, and even you got phrases and something happens in the middle, but if you hit a good final note, everybody forgets.
Yeah. Nobody cares.
Nobody
The
cares what you
rest.
did in the past. So easy way out. If you say, this singer is doing it higher, a little different, he's not in good conditions and he's distracting you with other notes. So passing those guttural uh, trills, mm, She goes for her first. For me, if you ask me, unless you prepare it well, it could seem like distracting because you see, but too slow is boring, and too fast makes it lose sense of the state of mind of Lucia. That's what makes me think that probably, even though it is written for repetition, probably there should be not, because once you do it once, it is predictable. See, then repetition. See, or a small variation in words or anything, but it feels repeated. Like you're really not giving anything else. And I know that's why many sopranos say, yeah, but in the second part, in my repetition, I add a G, I put here. Something that doesn't even resemble to what Donizetti would have done. But unless you tell me differently, I don't know if you would give any particular recommendation for sopranos right after their central trill and as they start working on a few ornaments for a number of measures ahead. Anything else that you would like to suggest in terms of air, in terms of pitch, in terms of how to attack?
Well, I think that the advice should be indeed to work the trills in any register, because you can face something like this. And for example, in Baroque period music, there are many trills and there are not that high notes. So if you are interested in doing something like that, yes, you should be practicing your trills in different pitches, not just the high notes.
Okay, thank you very much, Katia. We will adhere to Mimi then. No more rock. We said easier, no more difficult. Maybe we should be bringing one for this season. Maybe we should be bringing we as if I was a singer.
Wait.
You should be bringing. You
Yes,
should be
I
bringing.
like that.
You should be bringing something from the Baroque
Oh yes.
because besides being absolutely lovely, the reduced number of instruments, which I really love, because they usually match better with this kind of voices. Um, but for some reason, I like them. I find them to be like very lively, very. I don't know. I don't even have the adjectives, but the that period, the early stages of the opera, always put me in a good mood. So
Yes.
it could be nice if you could bring an aria from the Baroque
Oh
soon
yes, we
in
will.
the future.
Yes.
Okay, so having committed Katia, I was trying to recall if there is any singer who actually sings all this passage as written.
Mm. I don't know, because I
Yeah,
think
if you play it in your mind, you say no, they changed something all the time.
something, but I think they think what they can.
Singers usually put marks or corrections or notations on their scores. So probably what they do is that they put a blank paper on several of these compass and write on top of them what they are actually going to do. Because yeah, it doesn't sound like many of them sing what it is
No,
actually
no.
written.
Probably, probably Garfias, because The first Lucia I heard was hers, and I remember that sounded pretty similar of what I'm reading, so maybe her.
I don't think I have ever heard Garfia singing Lucia. I am curious. I'm going to look for a see if I can find a recording of her singing Lucia because it could
I
be very interesting to see how it was actually written, how it
I
is actually sung.
think she did, yes.
So that's exactly what we were saying, and that's how it wraps the first part, and then comes again the intervention that nobody asked for. Henry by the band, the chorus, più raffrenare il pianto, orvase amor rimorso a me. And people really don't care about their participation. People are saying, hey girl, go for your high note. Well, that's what we came here for. I,
I'm paying for this.
I paid for this note, so you go and hit the note and forget everything. You guys are taking my time. Please leave the stage and leave Lucia again alone. And when she gets back, my interpretation of this of hers descending without mm, yeah let's leave the expression of she's descending by uh how can I say she's descending in a controlled or semi-controlled way because the sopranos like to do descending scales an octave and a half or something even bigger. If you want high very long scales, go for Rossini, starting from beneath the ground and reaching the sky continuously. Rossini loved to do that, but this one is very modest. The way she descends and keeps the duration of the note is very modest and leaves you also thinking because there is actual there is an a the favorite expression of the sopranos whenever they want to do something they always say ah. It's a comfortable sound so they say ah. But there is no word, and that's very interesting. He had to give a vowel or a sound to this series of notes. But this isn't really a word. It's just a sound that descends. Not much, but descends to the C flat. How should a soprano work on it? Because right after descending on this slow motion descent, she goes back to her sparti I da maro pianto il mio te in this case is opposite because the baby kid here is taking the sound a little higher than the following note opposite to what's happening in the previous one that starts lower and the actual note is higher. This one is the opposite way, but still the idea remains mentre lassù nel cielo io pregherò, pregherò, and what I was sharing with you earlier becomes repetitive. Ta 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 tan tan ta ra, ta ta ra 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 ra, ta ra, tan tan, and going again for that monotonous sound. But when we reach after we go for the four times of the trills, the guttural trills of the sopranos, many sopranos here is where they lose their minds because they say per me. They never sing this note and they do basically whatever they want. And they also know that if it is lower than a C, it is a note that they don't want to sing. They say, give me emotion, give me passion, something beyond the C. And that's why they they go for this. And maybe this could work, but they could all they what I have noticed many sopranos do, or at least some of them, is that they also add a crescendo.
Mhm.
Go for the note, then increase the sound, and then cut it, and then go for the following ornaments. And that is usually very effective
It works.
because you don't want to sound like you're repeating the first part. But I don't know if before singing it with public, I don't know if you use that, Katia. When you prepare your own variations, you rehearse them and you say, "No, my variation sounds not so good. I'm going to do a different variation." In my mind, it was okay, but now that I hear it, it really wasn't. So, because of course, when you do those variations, you want to show what you are better at. And when you say, "I am going to do a crescendo," then it means that you know that you're going to attack the previous note with lower volume. But we have explained also that when you go for a, we're saying that you're going to sing higher than a C, right? So if you chose to transpose it, sing higher than a C, singing softly is difficult. So if you're not going to sing softly, you're going to go for your medium average sound and you're going to increase it. Most likely you're going to fail because the only way a crescendo works is when you actually listen to the sound grow. If you don't listen to the sound grow, if you attack it already so high, you have very little room to increase the volume. So,
Just there's nowhere to go.
but as we were, if you go for your medium range trying to increase, it's not going to be effective. But if you don't have the proper control of your voice and you want to go for something higher than a C, and you want to do it softly, and then you want to increase it, most likely what we call se te va a salir un gallo. Because you know that the sensation of singing softly for many, singing softly is like loosening, yeah, like loosening, you like sort of approach to relaxing. People think that when you sing softly, you sort of relax, you lose the tension. But if you want to increase your mindset, you increase the tension. And at some point, those two postures crash. Because it is wrong, and I don't know if you would like to explain it, Katia, that increasing of singing in piano does not mean relax the
Not
instrument.
at all. Not at all. Let me see if I can explain it. To sing a piano, it's well, singing correctly involves to use air at the same time that you create a sound. You sing on the air, okay? And a way check to test that you're doing that is that you put your hand and you should be able to feel the warmth of your breath in the palm of your hand. So if you are singing a piano on that, that's the way my body understands it, is to use more air that sound. But for using more air, it's means that I'm using a very strong and stable diaphragm support. And to increase the sound means for me to not use less air. Actually, is like the same air, but transforming it in sound in voice.
And many people have cared about the pianissimi, moreover, about the pianissimi. I have also, I think I have mentioned it in other seasons, not here, but in other seasons that we have been with Katia, that I know when a soprano is or a tenor, mostly the problem is with sopranos and tenors because baritones and mezzos are usually not singing pianissimi like this or making the filaturas. Whenever I notice a singer is unable to sing a filatura, it means he doesn't have the control of his voice.
Mhm.
Because in order to sing a filatura, what is the problem with a filatura? You have this amount of volume, and as you advance, you're decreasing the volume while still in pitch. The opposite of what I was explaining, what we were explaining earlier. Since you're doing the opposite, and now people say, ah, Since I am starting from a given note and a given volume, and I am decreasing in volume, then it means that I come from maximum density to minimum density.
Triple F.
What you are doing again is that you are suffocating yourself. That's why when sopranos try. Let me give you an example that maybe many people know about. When sopranos sing Andrea Lecouvreur, Io son l'umile ancella, and then try to go for the final note and try to sing it in a filatura or diminuendo in the sounds, and they cut it after 2 seconds, it means that they couldn't do it. That's what it basically means. Because it sounds easy to be done, but it's not that easy. It takes really,
No, no, no. It's
it's
a very good
demanding.
exercise.
Yeah, it's very demanding, and mostly at the end, because the first part, you can always think of your note and start decreasing, but there is a moment where you feel that you have no floor. You prefer to cut the note because something is horrible is about to happen. But going back to what we were sharing earlier, but those things are also necessary if you want to do if, for it to be nice. It doesn't always mean that, oh, it has to be a C, a D, an E flat. It can still be a lower note, but if you know how to increase, decrease, sustain, doing a nice portamento, doing any of those things can make the whole piece be very, very successful. And you will feel like you are actually a singer, which might be important, right?
You can say that you are a singer.
Yeah, you can say that you're a singer. And we are saying all of that because we are reaching the part where the sopranos get creative. But many of them, besides forgetting, they reach, oh, this is the second part. Here is the score. They do a ball of paper, throw it away, and start doing whatever they want. But to do whatever you want, you must be able to do something nicely fair, right? And that's when you ask, am I going to do a filatura? No, I don't have that kind of control. Am I able to do this? Not that. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to sing higher because that's the only thing I can do.
I'm gonna add 1,000 notes and high notes, and that's it. Well, that's not singing.
I'm going to add a cadenza that nobody has heard before, and that probably nobody will ever want to listen after that one. But really, the second part could be a great success, showing what the singer can actually do. Or it could be 60 seconds of misery to the public because but never mind, the high note is coming. So if you manage to spoil everything here, you will still have your high note, your E flat at the end. So you will have time to get the applause. What I have also noticed is that when the sopranos are about to reach their creative part, adding and putting or omitting many things, I also feel that they are like in a rush. Personally, I don't think that is necessary. Probably it is a psychological thing for the soprano that I want to leave the room as soon as possible because this is too much work
Well,
for me.
if I've been singing 20 minutes in these conditions, yes, I want to leave.
But what I wanted to ask you in regards to your own perspective, what do you prefer to do? To adhere to what is written and in a how in the second part in the repetition to adhere to what is written and risk to sound repetitive, or you prefer to sing higher extrapolating some notes, or you prefer to add some trills? What is in your taste what you prefer to do?
In my taste, I would say that I would like to add some things, but not in the excess. It has to sound that, yes, you're doing something different, but I mean, if you have some fries and you drown them in ketchup, you can taste the fry. So it's a very simple example, but that's the idea. You still have to recognize that is spartita marulpianto.
And as we're reaching the E flat, because you sang for us this final part before the E flat, which we have to remind you guys that it's not written. It's just something that the soprano said. It would be nice if I add an E flat. Let's add an E flat. Uh, is there anything that you would like to? We are reaching the end, which is where we started today. Is there any other recommendation that you would like to do before they hit or they go for their E flat? Because I have seen many times sopranos going for her final note, and I suffer a lot because I see their faces and they are suffering. So, what would you suggest to those sopranos for them to start suffering for their final part?
Oops. Well, it is a complicated score because it is a very, very, very large song. So by this point, you will probably, even with a good technique, feel not at your 100%, and that's a reality. So try to give a very fancy, very good high note as long as you can really and actually and honestly hold it. Don't try to push so much there, trying to cover the orchestra, and it doesn't have to last an eternity. As much as you feel in control and comfortable, I think that's the right duration of the note.
And put yourself in the shoes of a singer who, after the first part of the Sparti de Mario Pianto, says, I'm not going to make it for the E flat. Yeah, because when you're on a stage, before you actually reach the note, you know that.
You know if it's gonna happen or if it's not. You
And
feel it.
yeah, you know it before it actually. Of course, there are many who
Red flags.
red flags and many who try and say it. I'm going to try it because I am a hero and I will fight till the end. But in this case, if the soprano doesn't knows that she will not reach the E flat, what could you suggest them to do?
Probably I would enlarge the previous note and ending not that high but with dignity, because you could be doing a great work in the rest of the song and ending something and that sounded good, trust me. If you are gonna scratch the no, nobody wants that. You don't want the and that, that's a good work.
Many sopranos, in the case of the Sempre Libera, I think it's a D flat, not an E. I think it's a D flat. But
Yes, it's a bit.
they usually run into the same trouble because not all lyrical sopranos can go for the D flat. And I have heard a couple of them who also honestly and sincerely don't even try to go for it and stay lower, keeping, as you suggested, a lower note for longer and the final note very firm. So you see, she doesn't pretend she has a note, which is good, but she raps it correctly. And you say, okay, the spectacular ending is not there, but it's fair. Then seeing a squirrel trying to reach the flat.
Yes. Yeah.
I just saw it. I saw in this week a master class of who was it? I don't recall if it was Mirella Freni. I think it was Mirella Freni that I was watching a master class, and then she stopped the soprano and says, Could you please give me a note instead of that yell?
My God.
Mirela Freni was hard. As a teacher, she was tough. I see a lot of the
Yes.
students, but she didn't lie. What the lady had done was the yell of a squirrel. So I think it's a fair call. Give me a note. Don't give me the yell of a
Yes.
squirrel.
Yes. Sing. Try to sing this time.
Why don't we over, but this time singing? See what happens. Um, well, I think we're reaching the end of the program. Anything else that you would like to share? Anything else that you would like to sing?
Oh, probably I will repeat the end because it's beautiful.
Let's go for the E flat that doesn't sound like a squirrel. Yeah.
You can follow our channel for the latest updates and more content. Opera will love singing, in just one word. Link in the description of the episode.